Hello, listeners of the Luke 10:17-20 channel. Today, I will present 10 stories of Father Pio, in which he performed miraculous healings or did something supernatural. Personally, I must admit that I have been fascinated by stories about him since I was a child, and I have received help from the saint many times. As a token of gratitude, I am happy to record videos about him and share stories. Enjoy listening, and may he also help you. In the monastery garden, cypress, fruit, and coniferous trees grew. On summer afternoons, Father Pio would sit in their shade with his guests and friends to escape the scorching sun. One day, while Father Pio was conversing with a large group of people, a multitude of birds began chirping and making noise in the shadow of the trees. These birds composed a symphony. Impatient with the symphony, Father Pio lifted his head and said, "Silence." At that moment, the noise of the birds, crickets, and cicadas froze. The people present with him were greatly astonished. Father Pio spoke to the birds like St. Francis. The first recorded miracle of Father Pio occurred in 1908, when he was living in the Montefusco monastery. One day, Father Pio gathered chestnuts in a nearby forest and sent them as a gift to his Aunt Daria in Pietrelcina. The woman received the chestnuts, ate them, and kept the bag as a keepsake. A few days later, she was searching for something in the drawer where her husband usually kept gunpowder for his pistol. It was evening, so she was lighting the room with a candle. Suddenly, the drawer caught fire from the candle, and so did Aunt Daria. She quickly grabbed the bag that Father Pio had sent her and pressed it to her face. Instantly, the pain disappeared, and there were no wounds, scars, or burns left on her face. In 1950, my mother-in-law was taken to the hospital for surgery. She had a tumor in her left breast. Doctors stated that she would not live longer than 4 months. In Milan, someone told us about Father Pio and his miracles. I immediately went to San Giovanni Rotondo and waited for my turn for confession. I asked Father Pio for help for my mother-in-law and her healing. He sighed deeply twice and said, "We must pray, everyone must pray, she will recover." And so it happened. My mother-in-law recovered after the operation and went to San Giovanni Rotondo to personally thank Father Pio. Smiling, he said, "Go in peace, my daughter, go in peace." My wife's mother lived for another 19 years, not 4 months, as the doctors had previously stated. We have all been thanking Father Pio together for this miracle. The spiritual daughter of Father Pio was reading his letter by the roadside. A gust of wind blew and snatched the letter from her hands. The letter flew and flew down the road, across the meadow, until it finally landed on a stone. In this way, the woman retrieved the letter. The next day, she met Father Pio, who said to her, "You must be careful of the wind next time." If I hadn't held onto the letter with my foot, it would have flown far into the valley. During the Second World War in Italy, bread was rationed. In Father Pio's monastery, there were often many guests and poor people begging for food. One day, the monks went to the refectory and noticed that there was only 1 kilogram of bread in the basket. The brothers prayed and sat down to eat. Father Pio entered the church, and after a while, as he came out, he was carrying several loaves of bread in his hands. The superior asked Father Pio, "Where did you get those loaves?" Father Pio replied, "A pilgrim at the door gave them to me." Everyone was silent, but each knew that only Father Pio could encounter such a pilgrim. A certain man from Foggia, Italy, in 1919, was 62 years old and walked with the support of 2 canes. He once fell out of a wagon and broke both his legs. Doctors were unable to help him. After confessing, Father Pio told him, "Get up and go, throw away those canes." The man listened to him, and to the amazement of those present, he began to walk independently. Once in Father Pio's monastery, a monk forgot to consecrate enough hosts for Holy Communion. Consequently, there was a small quantity to distribute. However, after confession, when Father Pio administered communion, there were many more hosts left than had been consecrated. A man recounts, "My left knee was swollen, and I felt intense pain in that part of my leg. The doctor said it was a serious matter and prescribed a long series of injections. Before starting the treatment, I wanted to see Father Pio. After confessing, I told him about my knee and asked for his prayers. When I left San Giovanni Rotondo that afternoon, I no longer felt any pain. I began to examine my knee and couldn't find any swelling. Both legs were functioning excellently, so I ran to Father Pio to thank him. He said, 'Don't thank me, but God,' and added with a smile, 'Tell your doctor to take those injections himself.' In 1954, my father fell ill with a strange disease causing paralysis in his legs. He was 47 years old at the time. Many doctors tried to help him without success, and after 2 years, it seemed like he would have to go on disability. As he felt worse and worse, my uncle suggested visiting San Giovanni Rotondo, where a monk endowed with many gifts from God lived. With the help of my uncle, my father made it to San Giovanni Rotondo after many hardships. There Father Pio noticed him and called out, 'Bring that railway worker over,' even though Father Pio couldn't have known anything about my father. Nevertheless, they met and talked for several minutes. Later, Father Pio placed his hand on my father's shoulder, comforting him with a smile. After the conversation, my father realized he had been healed. Taking the crutches to leave, he realized he didn't need them anymore, leaving my uncle completely astonished. A certain lady recounted, "In 1953, I underwent medical tests and X-rays due to abdominal pains. It turned out that the situation was serious, and immediate surgery was necessary. A friend to whom I confided my problems advised me to write a letter to Father Pio asking for prayers and help. When I did so, I received a response in which Father Pio wrote for me to go to the hospital calmly and that he would pray for me. At the hospital, just before the planned surgery, the tests and X-rays were repeated. The same doctors were amazed when they found no trace of the serious illness previously diagnosed in me. For 40 years, I have continually thanked Father Pio for the help he showed me. I know that he never refuses his miraculous help to anyone who asks for it.